It's the return of Caleb Shomo here on Loudwire Nights, and you may or may not know this about the Beartooth frontman, but he gets fixated on records for a few months at a time. I learned this last time we spoke, Caleb, and they tend to be like older albums. So I'm just wondering, what are you currently obsessed with listening to nonstop?
Oh man. I mean, I feel like it's been a while, but I have been obsessed with was it Play Deep by The Outfield? That record from like '84. I don't know. It's got some serious hits on it.
What song? Would I recognize a song off that? It's not ringing a bell right now.
What's the song? Man, I am literally drawing a blank. Let me look. Give me 2 seconds. How am I drawing this blank right now?
You're not very obsessed if you're drawing an actual blank on what you're supposed to.
I swear, when like my brain, when I need to remember anything, it just doesn't work. Your Love, Say It Isn't So.
Is that I Don't Want to Use Your Love? Is that it?
Tonight. Of course. Yeah, I've been listening to that record a lot. Working Class Dog by Rick Springfield. The record was like Jesse's Girl and stuff like that.
So good. I love that song.
I think I've just been in like kind of an 80s kick lately, but yeah, those have been some constant staples.
All right, cool. I like it. I love Jesse's Girl. I actually got fixated on things as well. The latest, though, being The Dirt. Have you seen the Motley Crue biopic?
I did. It was wild, to say the least.
What? Isn't that insane? Okay, I'm glad you saw it. I mean, even if you didn't, you know the story, right? They're like the definition of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So I'm curious, when you look around backstage, and I know you're like mid-20s, but when you look around backstage 2019 and you're hanging out with your musician friends socially, how different is that picture now than the 80s, what you were seeing in that movie?
I mean, at least the people I usually hang out with, it is nothing like that. That is just absolute like madness, debauchery, and chaos. I mean, I feel like for me, it's like, I don't know, it's more just kind of drinking beers and hanging out. It's rarely like people snorting ants off of a puddle of piss and, things like that.
Ozzy's insane.
Yeah, it's really out of his mind.
I like get asked, when you interview musicians, do you see stuff like that? I'm like, no. I see professional people come into a studio, talk to me, and leave. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, not quite as crazy these days, I don't think.
Yeah, times, they are changing. Okay. Let's talk about the latest single off Disease, which is You Never Know. Tell us about the song, how it came together, and what inspired it.
Yeah, that song is a really special one to me. So I was out in Los Angeles for like a month. I kind of hit a roadblock. I couldn't come up with anything that I felt was any good. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try and work with some writers, like a lot of different writers, which is something I haven't really done. I mean, I have like a small handful that I work with, but I basically went out there. I wrote with a few people. Nothing really seemed to be clicking. And then I met this guy named Drew Folk, and he came over to the studio I was working at. And we just got coffee and ended up talking for like 3 hours just about, I don't know, life and what I'm going through, what I'm trying to get across on this record. And we then, after getting coffee, we went back to the studio and wrote You Never Know. And I think it was like 40 minutes. It was probably the fastest I've like ever written a song in my life. I don't know, cool experience. Essentially, we were just trying to very straightforwardly put into words, I don't know, I guess what it feels like being so far at the end of the rope of depression or whatever it may be when, I don't know, you're contemplating suicide and having panic attacks and things like that. And that's kind of why it's called, I mean, you never know until you know. That's obviously the tagline. And yeah, if you haven't been there, it's very hard to like wrap your head around. And it was just us trying to kind of verbalize it.
Okay. In the video, you're riding a motorcycle, and I'm just like assuming that's some green screen magic happening there. Do you even know how to ride a motorcycle?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to ride a motorcycle at all. Zach, our guitar player, he's like a big motorcycle guy and loves, building them and that whole bit. I literally have no idea. We just thought it would be fun to have one of those like old school scenes where we actually used just a big, like, high-powered projector. And our director, his name is Wafka. He's actually our touring photographer as well. But he just drove around in Toronto and got a bunch of footage of streets, and we just put it up on a huge projector and then just threw up some motorcycles in front of it and just kind of had a little...
What was the last thing that you read about yourself, either like a YouTube comment or a social media mention, maybe like an article, something that was written that was just so wrong, so wrong?
So wrong. That is a great question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like occasionally I'll go check out like our Wikipedia page and just like see what's been on there. And I feel like there's a few things on there that are a bit off, but honestly, for the most part, it's not too bad. I have one specific thing that I remember. This was like a couple of years ago, because honestly, everybody's usually pretty good about it with me. But I remember I did some interview for somebody. I can't remember for the life of me, but essentially they told me that like, or they put in their thing that I have like some ridiculous car and that I spend most of my time watching like Game of Thrones on my giant plasma screen and just all this random stuff. And I was like, where are you getting this from? I hadn't even watched Game of Thrones at the time. I do now. But it was I don't know. I think they were just trying to make me out to look like some ridiculous money-blowing rock star. And that is pretty far the opposite of what I usually do. But other than that, I think people are usually decently on point with me.
So the Disease Tour Part 2 is coming starting April 19th.
Yes.
Is it like electronics that like the second version is always better than the first? Like, have you tweaked anything?
We are. We're going to change up the set list. We're going to throw in some more new songs. I think we might be cutting a few more of the old ones. Just because the first time we did the run in the States, at least, the record came out, I think, 2 weeks into the tour. So we didn't want to kind of overload it with new stuff that people wouldn't know. But, once we got about a month into the tour and the record had been out for a while, the new songs were going over incredibly well. So, we decided we're going to add more new stuff, which is really exciting. We're going to play Greatness or Death, the first song off of Disease, which we've never played live before, which is really exciting. I think we might be playing the song Enemy, which we've never played before, which is, again, very exciting. And then, the lineup for this leg is also just stellar. I cannot wait. Mice and Men are amazing. Hands Like Houses are amazing. Dead American's awesome. It's going to be a wicked good time.
You guys are also playing Welcome to Rockville Epicenter Festival. You're doing Sonic Temple and Chicago Open Air. I know it's hard to know who's playing what because you're all over the world, but is there anybody you're excited to see? If not, if you're not really sure, what is the best live band you've ever seen? Outside of your own, of course.
Oh, well, I can give an answer to both. For Sonic Temple, and I believe Chicago as well, we're playing on the same day as Meshuggah. And I've never seen Meshuggah live, and I've been a Meshuggah fan for I don't know how long. So I am beyond stoked to see them. And best live band ever is tough. Honestly, there's this band called the Dirty Nil. They're this 3-piece punk band from Toronto. And if you look up live videos or studio sessions or whatever, they are about as close to sounding identical to the record as I've maybe ever seen live. And they're really fun to watch. They're a great band. So I would put them at the top of live bands list. Also, we just got off tour with Architects over in Europe. And that was probably the best metal show I've ever seen in my life. Like consistently every night. They were just mind-blowing. Everything about their show is incredible.
So is that how you define a great show personally, like to have them sound as close to the record as possible? Or do you want them to maybe like get caught up in the moment and lost? And
Yeah. I think it depends on the band. For me, there are certain bands that I want to see, like Architects, for example. They're a very technical metal band. Their songs are, really precise. Their parts are really precise. And their music is great for crazy light shows and lasers and pyro and like all of that. So I think for that show, I loved it so much just because they are so tight as a band. But at the same time, Sam, their singer, is really good at getting the crowd involved and like having the crowd sing along with him and throwing parts up. And he does change it up a little bit live, which is great. And then a band like the Dirty Nil, to me, it's just impressive how accurately, like how close they are to the record live. And obviously, they change it up. It's a lot more of a loose band. So there'll be solos and then, they're playing songs faster and slower and whatnot, but their vocalist is absolutely flawless. Like he is one of the most incredible live singers I've ever seen. And I think for me, that's what makes like that band great. But I don't know. I think a live show in general, there's just got to be that factor for something that resonates with your soul that makes you think this is incredible. And I don't know, some bands just have it live, some bands don't.
Definitely. You recently shared you're not super, well, you're like the opposite of super active on Twitter. Personally, I mean, Beartooth is way more active, but you recently shared.
I literally haven't, I don't know when the last time I tweeted was. I'm terrible with social media.
I think I'm going to tell you the last time, actually. It's when you retweeted a GoFundMe link on Twitter. And
Yeah.
For
Chucky.
So first, let me say, for those who are unfamiliar, GoFundMe is a crowdfunding platform. It allows people to raise money. And I have to imagine that musicians get just bombarded with people asking for your help with their GoFundMe page to spread the word. Like, how do you decide, given that there's scammers around every corner, how do you decide if to support, not to support, or do you only do if you know them?
For me with GoFundMe, if I'm going to get behind something like that, I really got to know everything about it and usually know the people. That one, to me, I think came through. We still have like a group chat with Silverstein, like a Silvertooth group chat, and I think somebody posted it in there because Chucky is a good friend of all of ours, a guy who needed help. And that for me was like a no-brainer. Okay. But if I'm just getting hit up by random people saying, post about my GoFundMe, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel very weird about that.
Yeah, you really can't. It's crazy. But I'll see like musicians sometimes retweet and I just wonder, like, how do you even, there's so much need, but then there's also so many scammers. All right. I also saw on social media that your beautiful wife gave up chocolate for Lent. So I'm wondering, what did you give up? Because are you letting her go chocolateless alone, or what's happening over there?
I've never been much of a Lent person, and she does it every year. She always goes for like no chocolate, and I mean that's her go-to. Like I would say that is her vice in life. She absolutely loves chocolate, and she doesn't even eat that much of it. So she'll have like a small chunk of it here and there. Most days, but I don't know. She like puts herself through hell doing it.
Seriously, but it sounds like torture.
Yeah, I don't know. She's always really, really adamant about it. But hey, I respect it. Something that she loves that she tries to take some time away from. But I genuinely have done absolutely nothing for Lent. I've just been at home, taking the time off, soaking it in, eating a lot of garbage. I don't know. I've been pretty bad, I guess.
I love it. All right, Caleb Shomo, frontman for Beartooth. That's pretty much it, man. Do you want to mention anything I didn't?
I don't know. I think we're pretty covered.
Pretty good.
I mean, yeah. Just come out to the Disease Tour Part 2. If you're around, come out to some festivals. We are going to have a hell of a set list and a hell of a lineup. So, yeah, come out and have fun.